SA Menswear Week 2016 in Cape Town last week saw designers, celebrities and fashion fanatics from across the country converge on the mother city to experience the latest trends and ideas from South Africa's top menswear designers. We're joined by the trend men, Alan Foley and Krishen Samuel, to give us insight into what went down and what we can look forward to in terms of men's fashion. Gents, welcome to our loft.
Hi. Thank you.
So cool to have you guys here because I always tend to go to these Menswear Week shows and leave there feeling like, what do I put in my closet now? I can't do any of these things. So it's nice to have the experts in the building. What are some of the trends that we think we saw from that runway last week?
Well, there were quite a few trends. We're going to start with quite a broad trend that we've been seeing internationally, and that's Serenity.
Yeah, what we normally do at the beginning of every year, we kind of identify what we think will be on trend for the rest of the year. And this being the first fashion week of 2016, we were hoping we were going to see some of those trends coming through already. And one trend that we've identified, which is actually more like a lifestyle trend, which is one we've termed Serenity. At the moment, there's this whole lot of chaos going on in the world. Everybody's lives are so busy. And people want to sort of integrate wellness into what they're doing on a daily basis.
Well, they're doing their diets too and on their bodies, so why not on fashion too?
And we're seeing that starting to come through into fashion in particularly colour at the moment. Pantone have identified a sort of baby blue and a pale pink as the colours of the year.
Is this what your pants are?
Yeah, kind of.
There we go, you see. Okay, I see Serenity in your pants.
There we go.
I feel very serene when I look at them. Okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of a broad thing. I mean, we've seen that coming through in sort of mainly the colour palette that's going on at the moment.
Okay. One of the other main trends that we're seeing is something called Afrofuturism, which is really big at the moment. It's a modern African aesthetic, and many designers actually showcase that at SA Menswear Week.
Exactly.
So we could see that, for instance, Fundudzi Man, Amanda Ledcherry, OLC, Genevieve Lyons, a very modern take on African inspiration. So it's not necessarily the stereotypical idea of African fashion, but much more modern take on African fashion. Totally. And we're seeing it coming through in the colours, so the olives, the khaki colours, and so forth, but also in terms of the silhouettes. And I think we're drawing on different aspects of our culture at the moment, and we're seeing that. So we're seeing nomadic aspects, traveller aspect, and so forth, different African culture coming
So I did well. I think my theme for the Met 2016 was the urban explorer, so that sort of traveller, that person heading out into the world.
We took note.
Oh, there we go.
You were on trend.
What is the next trend that you guys managed to see from the runway this year?
Okay, one trend that we've identified is the sort of marriage between high art and fashion.
Yes.
The two spheres have kind of ignored each other for a long time. Art sees fashion as very frivolous. Fashion sees art as too highbrow. But now there's, internationally, like museums are starting to do retrospectives on people's fashion designs. So now they're kind of like coming together and saying, well, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. So we're seeing a lot of elements from high art coming through into fashion, and particularly into menswear. And one of the sort of genres that they picked up on is the op art of the 1960s.
Yes.
And we saw that coming through, for example, in Chew's collection. And in fact, the trousers that some of the models were wearing is literally the same print that we identified when we were discussing op art at the beginning of the year.
Wow.
And then other pop art elements are coming through in as well. Like, for example, Svi Karp. He brought in like very sort of like pop art elements, like the bright colours and the clashing colours.
Heavies,
yeah, the stuffed animals, that kind of a thing. And then, of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's only artistic. You can take like an element, like Adrian Curtis and Jodie Paulson did, and use that as a motif that repeats on the item of clothing.
Another huge one this season is androgyny. So in 2015 and going into 2016, androgyny has been huge. And we've seen that coming through in terms of the designers' collections at SA Menswear Week. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be the literal interpretation of androgyny. It doesn't necessarily mean that a man's wearing a skirt, Jaden Smith's style. It just could mean that much more flowing lines, the types of fabrics that are used, but there's definitely more of an agender feel or a gender fluid feel. And many of the clothes, you can't tell if they necessarily were meant for a man or for a woman, but we're definitely seeing that coming through in terms of menswear fashion. I
mean, also in girls' fashion, it was popping up too. I mean, Bonnie, one of our presenters, also was involved with that at the Met. She decided to wear something that was actually a tuxedo that she had turned into a beautiful dress. So androgyny seems to be that theme moving forward.
Absolutely, which is fantastic.
What about these looks that we're seeing on screen now?
So some of these looks actually pick up a little bit more on the androgyny. So one of these designers, Neo Serati, picked up a lot on that. So, you know, kind of taking elements and subverting them. So elements traditionally used by females and then seeing how we can actually integrate them into menswear in quite a playful way, integrating elements of street style, integrating pantyhose into the look somehow in terms of the styling. So that's what we're seeing coming through. And I think for guys, it's also exciting to try different things, see how you can can play with androgyny, see how you can integrate it into your wardrobe, even if it's just one of the elements of androgyny.
It doesn't have to be a whole elaborate look.
Precisely,
And this look that we've got on screen now.
Yeah, I mean, this is a perfect example of a trend called new punk at the moment, or neo-punk as we call it, where, I mean, we're living in a society at the moment that is very angry. They're angry about service deliveries. They're angry
I'm
about
not angry. Stop telling me I'm angry. I'm not. Okay?
Serenity.
Serenity. Which is kind of what was happening in the late 70s, which led to the punk rock movement and led to that whole, like, anti-establishment thing. And people are now very angry, and they're doing it, they're expressing it in what they're wearing and what they're doing to themselves. So you're finding a lot more tattoos, you know, like the bushy beards, things like that. And slogans are coming in, like sort of like very in-your-face slogans, torn jeans, torn stockings, that kind of a thing. And we saw that in several of the collections. We saw it particularly in Genevieve Lyons and also in Dicker, and obviously Kim Gush. I mean, she took like very sort of Afrikaans elements, brought them into her clothing, and they're kind of like in-your-face slogans. I mean, we even had a model coming down the runway with his bottom exposed.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
that's the statement,
Very
right?
in your face.
Yeah. Literally. It's an exciting thing seeing at this Menswear Week. I see a lot of heavy materials, a lot of sort of like different textures that you guys are...
That's something else that's coming through, is that in one look you'll have many different fabrics, lots of different textures. There were also many coats, which was quite exciting. And then also another trend that we're seeing is something that's being termed athleisure at the moment, which is an extension of the sports luxe trend. And ultimately what it refers to is an athletic sort of leisure look. But more of the emphasis is on the leisure and on the luxury.
Yeah, and you would not want to go to gym in any of these things.
Precisely, but it kind of looks like you could possibly. So we're seeing some of the silk sateen fabrics. We're seeing a very cool urban look. Some of the designers who picked up on this were Augustine, such as is on the screen now, Maxi Vive, and a few other designers. One in particular who brought out more of the luxury element was Richard Mnizi, which is still an urban look, and it's still quite athletic, but a lot more luxury this time.
Jumpsuits were popping up. I'm seeing tall socks being brought into the story. It was really exciting to see. But for the layman, what happens now? Like, how do we know what to keep in our closet for moving forward in 2016?
Well, I mean, trends are there. You can adopt them if you like. But the whole thing we say to people is just be comfortable with what you wear. I mean, if you see a trend that you like but it doesn't suit you, then just don't do it. Just do what suits your body style.
Okay, I'm taking notes. Gents, thank you so much for joining us in the loft today.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much.
From the runway to the rundown, right on Afternoon Express. We'll be right back after this.
How you doing, YouTube fam? Thank you so much for watching, sharing and commenting. We love hearing from you, so be sure to keep up to date with all things Afternoon Express by clicking the subscribe button right here.